Tell me, is it love that determines what you do, or is it the mind? In other words, is it, in some sense, the inclination that comes from the heart or from the head? Or is it a marriage of the two? In some sense, is the head the male and the heart the female? More quite simply, the heart, you attributed to the heart the qualities of the female: nurturing, kindness, gentleness, intuition. And to the head, the qualities of the male. I hesitate to say this in the 21st century, but leadership, strength and protection, care and provision, and thought. In some sense, intuition comes from the heart and thought from the mind. I don't mean that the thoughts aren't from God. Of course I do. I mean specifically they're from God. But the heart speaks of intuition from love. The heart is associated with love, isn't it? The loving kindness wells up from the heart. The mind in the head has the understanding of how to carry it out and acts, makes the decision, but the heart goes directly to your reactions, your emotions. It's as if the heart speaks of herself, whereas the head waits for direction from God, seeks out, what's this, what's the answer, what's the truth here, Father? Whereas the heart acts. Perhaps the heart cries out, but the head calculates. Perhaps two men get lost in the head, or women in the heart. Women are wonderful at communicating to each other. It's the nearest they get to thinking sometimes is in their talking, chatting to each other, which they do abundantly. Men can scarcely talk to each other. It's, hello mate, good, how are you? Good, yeah, good mate, all good, yeah. Yeah. How's the car? Yeah, it's all right. Men have been marooned in their head from their heart. Women are separated from their head. Let's just get as far as the lips and the voice, but can't get to the head. Well, unless they're a professional lady and then they're trained to be as the men. Just as a house husband is trained to be as the woman. I'm concerned that I learnt my love from Mum. Wasn't close enough contact or enough encouragement to take too much leading and example from Dad, apart from his integrity and provision, which of course is a big part of a man, don't get me wrong. Well, in our society, you understand, I don't mean it's other than that particularly. It occurs to me too as an aside that, even the brain is male and female in the sense that one side's multitasking and the other one's very directional, and I've forgotten which is which. I think it's the left-hand side, which is in some sense more the male in that sense, and the right-hand side, which of course would match up with the left-hand side of the body, the mind is in more multitasking and more what we associate with the female in that sense. And then of course in the family, well, there's one that's the male dominant and one that's the female, but we're both a mixture of both. It's just that the male might dominate in the man and the female might dominate in the woman. I'm sure this isn't too touchy a subject in the 21st century. Political correctness and so on. Well, I wonder if we shouldn't therefore make sure when we have advisors that half of them are women, and women at that are steered more by the heart and intuition than the men that are well suited to steer by the mind and thought. This is only an unacceptable type of analysis if you see as one set of qualities as being more noble or more acceptable than the other, which I think would be a nonsense, quite honestly. I was greatly blessed by my wife, dare I say, whichever one it was, and I looked regularly to her to solve things that I just could not solve in my head, and sometimes she would solve things that I'd already solved in my head from a heart perspective, and when I thought about it, well, I came to the conclusion she was probably right. That does not make men inferior, you understand? In fact, on the contrary, just wonderfully objective and able to arrive at truth. I don't know. But interesting thing, isn't it? Well, we think of male and female as so distinct, and the reality is that we are all unique and have something wonderful to offer. It's the way God has made us. And in order to be eligible for heaven, as I understand it, you must have learnt to get on with so many people who are so different in view to yourself. Else when you enter heaven, you'll wreck the place. So we are here on earth, training to be eligible for heaven as regards understanding, compassion, love and kindness, wisdom, goodness, fellowship, that we may enter into eternal communion in the hosts of heaven with our wonderful heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad. So I associate wisdom and thought with the head, intuition and feeling with the heart. They're both packed with neurons, you know. The heart's got something like 65% neurons. And even the spleen has, apparently. And of course the spine has a lot of neurons in it as well. In fact, the whole body is more like an integrated mind. Imagine it, if you like New Zealand. It's a fairly sparsely populated country, but with a few islanded cities. Auckland and Hamilton, Wellington, Christchurch, that sort of thing. There are dense areas of neurons in the body and less dense areas, but it's not that all the thoughts done in the mind or everything is controlled by that. On the contrary, it takes too long to get there and back. Some very basic reactions are extremely local. You know, when you tap someone on the kneecap, boom, there's a reaction instantly. It doesn't have time to get communicated to the brain and back again and decision made or anything like that. So it's not, of course, that I think men don't get intuition. Clearly a prophetic word would have to be that, wouldn't it? And we've had, traditionally in the Old Testament say it was male prophets much of the time. But, and equally, I'm not claiming women aren't reasonable. We may characterize them by saying they're unreasonable from a man's point of view, but then women have found men unreasonable forever as well, haven't they? Yes, I think I'll pack this conversation in. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Thank you, Dad. Oh, yes, and of course, now when I listen to this through, the heart is on the left-hand side, isn't it? And the right hand, the right side, typically people are right-handed. The action, the strength side is on the right. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you, Dad. I tell you, I don't mind how little you do for me, how little you do that's right. But please do it because it's your will. Because you love to do it. It's of your heart, from your heart. Not because you fear some constraint or imposition from me. That's not righteousness. I'm not looking for obedience. I'm looking for heartfelt love. I'm looking because, more than that, your heart and mind wants to do it. And that even if I didn't exist, still you would do it. Because that's what you value. That's what I treasure. Bless you. Yes, I see. Thank you, Dad.